traditional Lunar New Year in Vietnam, is a time for family members to gather. The atmosphere of Tet is very bustling. People go shopping very bustling, and talk to each other very happily. Family members clean up together. Some people decorate their homes and make traditional cakes of the Vietnamese people. Everyone happy and wish each other a peaceful and happy New Year. But, in a cozy atmosphere, preparing to welcome the New Year. Surprise in Than Hung Commune, Dien Bien District, Dien Bien Province. Local people talking to each other about the mysterious disappearance of the girl. Name is Cao Mai Dian, 22 years old, studying at Tai Nguyen University of Agriculture and Forestry. And you are following the case. Female student delivers chicken on TrueCase channel. If this criminal case left an impression on you, please like, select channel subscription, and turn on notification bell as an encouragement to us. Thank you very much. And now, let's find out today's case together. On the occasion of Lunar New Year holiday, Cao Mai Dian returns home to help her family, selling chickens at Muang Than Market, Dien Bien Pha District. Around 6 p.m. on February 4th, 30th of Tet 2019, Cao Mai Dian received phone call from customer. Order 13 chickens to eat during Lunar New Year. The buyer asked her to deliver the goods to Area C13, Than Trong Ward, Dien Bien Pha City, about 4 kilometers from Muang Than Market. At 6:30 p.m., she put the chickens in the cage, delivered to customer at previously designated location. When going, she wore a beige jacket, black pants, and a blue helmet. More than 2 hours later, about 20:45, February 4, 2019, only a few hours left until New Year's Eve. Dian has not returned home yet. The family called many times, but she did not pick up. Until about 22 o'clock, February 4, 2019, not see daughter return. Her mother is Mrs. Tran Thi Hien, reported to the police that her daughter delivered chicken, still not home and missing. Immediately upon receiving the information, the police felt there were signs of danger, immediately mobilized a large force to join the search for victims. Until the early morning of February 5, 2019, police and search forces have yet to find any clues. But until the end of February 6, 2019, there is still no news of the victim. The police have cordoned off the area and continue to check the communes near the Lao border. Vietnamese police also send identification information, ask for help from Lao police to search for victims. 2 days of searching passed. The authorities have blockaded to conduct zoning and search of neighboring areas. Police have also expanded the search area across the province to the communes bordering Laos. But still no news of Cao Mai Dian. Until the morning of the third day of Tet, that is February 7, 2019, at Team 11 area, Than Nua Commune, Dien Bien District, around 10 a.m., after hearing the screams of terror of a woman named B. Kim Du. The people around immediately came and discovered Cao Mai Dian's body at the abandoned pigsty. Determined this was a particularly serious criminal case. February 8, 2019. Dien Bien Provincial Police reported to the Ministry of Public Security, request to send more investigators come to the scene to assist in solving the case. After completing the autopsy procedure, the body of victim Cao Mai Dian has been returned to her family. Right after that, the family held a funeral for her. Police have conducted checks on thousands of suspects, had a criminal record for rape, murder, robbery, extortion, simultaneously extract surveillance cameras of all households along the route Cao Mai Dian has passed. February 10, 2019. After checking security cameras on many routes, police have identified a suspect. Is Vuong Van Hung, born in 1984. This person has a past filled with many sins and drug addiction. Time of Cao Mai Dian case. Hung has just been out of prison for about 4 months for the crime of illegal trafficking and possession of drugs. So the police urgently arrested Vuong Van Hung to serve the investigation. After searching his house, the police collected a lot of important evidence to accuse Vuong Van Hung. Everyone thought the killer had been caught, and the case will be closed soon. But at the investigation agency, Vuong Van Hung continuously changed his testimony, so aroused suspicion for the investigating agency. Investigators believe that the circumstances of this case are very complicated. There are certainly many mysteries yet to be clarified. The police found too many suspicious points, should have returned to the scene, where the victim's body was found, to find more clues. After reviewing the circumstances of the case, police are attracted by woman named B. Kim Do, was also the first person to discover the victim's body, because there is a coincidence that the house is abandoned, where the victim's body was found, owned by Bithi Tom family, is Thu's husband's sister, and that abandoned house, only about 100 meters from Thu's family's house, so the police were suspicious. Thu and her husband are involved in the case, so secretly followed and investigated the information of these two people. After investigation, the police learned Thu's husband is Bi Van Kong, born in 1975, is a notorious drug addict in the area. He works as a truck driver and own a 1.25-ton truck, license plate 27C-03475. To get the basis for exploiting the object, the reconnaissance force created a violation situation and coordinate with traffic police, administrative inspection and record of violations, aimed at seizing Bi Van Kong's truck, to serve the investigation. And not beyond the police's expectations. After searching Bi Van Kong's truck, police found 2 dried blood stains in the truck bed, then secretly brought it for appraisal. Bi Van Kong was allowed to return home afterwards. The police kept an eye on him in the following days, and found out that, during this time, there are some men, often go in and out of Bi Van Kong's house, and the police have identified the subjects as Pham Van Neem, born in 1976, Luong Van Hung, born in 1991, Luong Van La, born in 1993, Pham Van Dung, born in 1970 to brother of Pham Van Neem, and Cam Van Chuong, born in 1974. These are all drug addicts like Bi Van Kong. February 17, 2019. Blood sample test results on truck bed by Bi Van Kong matched the blood sample of victim cow, Mai Dian. So the police had enough grounds. Execution of arrest warrant for Bi Van Kong. After Bi Van Kong was arrested, also on February 17, 2019, the police also arrested his group of drug addict friends, including Pham Van Neem. Next is the object, Luong Van Hung, and object, Luong Van La, because these people came to Bi Van Kong's house to use drugs. On February 13, 2019, 2 subjects are Bi Van Dung and Cam Van Chuong, did not participate in the above drug use, so has not been arrested, but was also on the Scouts watch list. The arrest of the above subjects is essentially to combine investigation, to view these objects, related to Khao Mai Dian case or not. However, at the investigation agency, the subjects all said that they do not know and are not related to the Khao Mai Dian case. This forces the investigators must lock each subject up separately for interrogation. The next day, the first person arrested was Vuong Van Hung. Unexpectedly gave new testimony. However, Hung's new testimony, unrelated to what he previously stated, also does not match the evidence that the police collected at the scene. This causes a lot of difficulties for the investigation agency. After collecting more clues at the scene, the police suddenly made an extremely difficult decision. That is, asking the victim's family for permission to exhume Khao Mai Dian's body. To clarify the suspicions of the investigating agency, help speed up the process of solving the case. And until February 18, 2019, after obtaining the consent of the victim's family, the investigation agency has excavated Khao Mai Dian's grave. The excavation work went very smoothly, as if the victim died unjustly, should seek to assist the investigating agency, quickly find out the truth. Then the investigating agency, more clues discovered at Bi Van Kong's house. Combined with forensic reports obtained from the victim's autopsy, the police had enough evidence to bring the case to light. At this time, No cannot escape, so the suspects began to confess and revealed his accomplices to the police. So, up to this point, 8 suspects related to the case have been arrested by the police. Include Vuong Van Hung, Pham Van Neem, Luong Van La, Luong Van Hung, Thi Van Kong, Pham Van Dung, Cam Van Chuong, Thi Kim Du. In the following days, the suspects also admitted to the kidnapping, robbed, raped, and murdered Cao Mai Dian. However, when the police asked who was the mastermind of the case, the suspects gave inconsistent answers and blame each other, so the police judged that there are still suspects involved in the case at large, because, according to information collected by the police, Cao Mai Dian went to school far from home, not usually living locally, not acquainted or have any relationship with the above suspects. So what motive made the subjects? Kidnapping, robbery, rape, and murder of Cao Mai Dian. But many days have passed. The suspects remain stubbornly uncooperative, forcing police to use their professional skills. The subjects also revealed the last accomplice in the case, also the mastermind of the kidnapping, robbed, raped, and murdered Cao Mai Dian, is Vi Van Ton, 38 years old, is a notorious drug lord in the area, and has also been on the police blacklist for a long time. After the investigation agency collect enough evidence of Vi Van Ton's crime, police immediately proceed to arrest the suspect for investigation, clarify the cause and motive of his crime. At the investigation agency, Vi Van Ton told the police that, by the victim's mother, is Mrs. Tran Thi Hien, bought 2 cakes of heroin from Vi Van Ton for 300 million Vietnamese dongs, equivalent to $12,000, and Mrs. Hien promised to pay Ton as soon as she sold the drugs. However, a long time later, Ton did not see Mrs. Hien bring money to pay the debt as promised. Should go find Mrs. Hien to collect debt. At this time, Mrs. Hien answered Ton, is no money to pay debt to Ton, because the buyer has not paid her yet. Vi Van Ton is very angry, then go back home. Sometime later, Ton continued to look for Mrs. Hien to collect debt, but still like before, Mrs. Hien still makes excuses to avoid paying Ton's debt, and he left in anger. Then Ton secretly followed and found out Mrs. Hien's daughter is Cao Mai Dian, on the occasion of Lunar New Year holiday, has returned home and helped mother sell chickens at Muang Than Market. So Ton hired Vuong Van Hung's group, discussed together, and planned to kidnap Cao Mai Dian, to put pressure on Miss Tran Thi Hien to pay the debt. Ton promised to pay money and drugs for Hung's group when completing the task. Then the whole group started to act. Vuong Van Hung plays the role of a chicken buyer, to find a way to approach Cao Mai Dian, ask for phone number. At 6:00 p.m. on the 30th of Tet, Hung called to order 13 chickens, and asked Dian to deliver the chicken to the location specified by Hung. Here Hung's group knocked Dian out, robbed property, and then put Dian in Kong's truck, and brought to Kong's house for detention. Then Ton called Mrs. Hien to announce that Dian has been kidnapped, and asked Mrs. Hien to pay the debt and then Dian would be released. But Mrs. Hien threatened Ton that, if Dian is not released, she will call the police. This made Ton's group very surprised. Then Ton told his accomplices to lock Dian up and drive away. At this time, Mrs. Hien also called the police to report Dian's disappearance. However, not telling the police the truth, Dian was kidnapped by Ton, because she was afraid the police would find out her drug dealing with Ton, and it was this action that led to the tragic death of her daughter. Right after Ton left, the remaining subjects entered the room, where they locked Dian. Then they took turns raping Dian. Like that for 2 consecutive days. Cao Mai Dian was raped many times by the kidnappers. But up to this point, Dian's mother is Mrs. Tran Thi Hien. Just cry all day, but did not dare tell the truth to the police. Ton is the one who kidnapped Dian, because she was afraid that, when the police investigate, will know the matter. She had a drug deal with Tone. She will be caught by the police and put in jail. So missed the best time to rescue his daughter. After 2 days of being raped repeatedly by the kidnappers. My Diane was now very weak and had no strength left. Also did not see Mrs. Heen come to pay the debt. By this time, Diane was very weak. However, Hung's group did not take the victim to the emergency room for fear of being exposed. So the group came up with a plan to kill Mai Diane, and approved by Tone. Then they murdered the victim and faked the crime scene to disorient the police investigation. Above is the entire testimony of Vivan Tone at the investigation agency. After getting Tone's full statement, the police quickly arrested Miss Heen, the victim's mother, and proceed to clarify the relationship between Tone and Mrs. Heen. The results of the investigation were then announced. 9 suspects in the case was officially arrested by the police pending trial. And Mrs. Tranthi Heen, victim's mother, will be tried in another case on charges of illegal drug trafficking. After the lawyer completes the litigation file, trial of the defendants in the case, kidnapping, robbery, rape and murder of Mai Diane, has also been started to take place. At trial, the defendants also received appropriate sentences for the crimes they committed against the victim, has been through many court hearings, and the judge also gave the final verdict. Defendant Vivan Tone, mastermind of the case, sentenced to death. Defendant Vuong Van Hung, sentenced to death. Defendant Bi Van Kong, sentenced to death. Defendant Pham Van Neem, sentenced to death. Defendant Luong Van Hung, sentenced to death. Defendant Luong Van La, sentenced to death. Defendant Pham Van Dung, and Defendant Cam Van Chuong, sentenced to 10 years in prison for rape. Defendant Bi Kim Thu, wife of Bi Van Kong, sentenced to 3 years in prison for failing to report a crime. Defendant Tran Thi Heen, victim's mother, also the cause of the victim's tragic death, sentenced to 20 years in prison for drug trafficking. End of trial. The perpetrators received their just punishment. The victim who was unjustly killed can now rest in peace. But the pain left for the victim's family is too great. Nothing can compensate. And what do you think about the money-hungry mother, afraid of getting into trouble with the law, left his daughter to face life-threatening danger? Please comment below to discuss together. And before leaving, don't forget to like, subscribe channel, and turn on notification bell to update the most classic criminal cases on TrueCase channel.